there was a DHS Deputy Secretary, Troy Edgar. He went on NPR, National Public Radio, and he basically said protest is terrorism. Like this emerging war on terror that is basically coming for us all. You probably recognize that the war on terror was like very costly, but you probably don't sufficiently appreciate how much the war on terror was actually existing fascism from the perspective of Arab and Muslim Americans. You know, to be Arab or Muslim or even Muslim looking, you know, Sikhs got targeted in America too, because of like who where you're from or like what religion you have. And to make that the FBI go after you for that shit, you know, or like to experience low-key racism on the daily, like that was part of the war on terror. You know, Richard Beck has a good book about this. It features a little bit in Spencer Ackerman's book too, but basically the war on terror was like fascism within democracy, you know. And now we're about to experience what it's like for the war on terror to go after us, and we're seeing new indications of this. Like that's how we need to be thinking about this, right? So everybody knows, I hope, about the story of Mahmoud Khalil. So the Columbia University student with a green card, hadn't broken any laws, was not charged with breaking any laws, married to a US citizen who's 8 months pregnant, and he got fucking jacked up and detained by ICE in the middle of the night, swifted away to fucking detention. At first, nobody knew where. He got disappeared. But then we found out he was in Louisiana, right? And the grounds on which ICE did this was basically a 1952 McCarthyist Cold War kind of anti-communist hysteria law that gave the Secretary of State the power, Immigration and Nationality Act, gave the Secretary of State the ability to say like, oh, if this person, they can be identified as alien to the U.S. and therefore deportable if they could act adverse to American foreign policy interests or have adverse consequences for American foreign policy interests. That was the exact wording of the law, right? That's a bunch of fucking nonsense. That's not a standard at all. Like, what are foreign policy interests? You know, what are adverse foreign policy consequences? That's about American power accumulation. You know, that's witch hunt shit. That can be applied to anybody at any time. You're not safe. You're not safe just because you're a natural born citizen. I don't know if you heard, Trump wants to remove natural born citizenship rights. Like, don't think that you're fucking safe from predation. You know, that was the mistake of the war on terror. A lot of well-meaning libs were happy to get on and live a normal life while fascism was going on in their midst. And now it's coming back around again, round two. This time they're going after the fucking peace protesters. So if you happen to be a fan of peace, you just might be got after. You know what I mean? So where the shit gets scary, I want to play this for you real quick. It's just 1 minute, and it's expanding the net of fascism, dude. There's just nothing.
And you go through at any point.
Is any criticism of the government a deportable offense?
It's, like I said, you know, as a student, he comes to the United States on a student visa, applies. Well, let me put it this way, Michelle. Imagine if he came in and filled out the form and said, I want a student visa. They asked him, what are you going to do here? And he's like,
he was
I'm
a
going
student.
to go and protest and
so
join
is protest
an
a deportable
activity.
event?
We would never have let him into the country.
Is protesting a deportable offense?
Like I said, you're focused on protesting. I'm focused on the visa process. He went through a legal process, came into the country.
Are you saying that he lied on his application? He's a lawful permanent resident married to an American citizen.
I think if he would have declared he's a terrorist, we would have never let him in.
And what did he engage in that constitutes terrorist activity?
Boom.
I mean, Michelle, have you watched it on TV? It's pretty clear.
No, it isn't. Well, explain it to those of us who have not, or perhaps others have not. What exactly did he do?
Well, I think it's clear, or we shouldn't be talking about it. I mean, the reality is that if you watch and see what he's done on the university...
Do you not know? Are you telling us that you're not aware?
He had nothing. It was tautology. It was circular reasoning. Oh, we wouldn't be talking about this if he wasn't a terrorist. What kind of answer is that? That's a fucking non-answer. It's like state propaganda, you know? So people are freaking out about this Mahmoud Khalil case. They're right to freak out about it. But the biggest issue here is that they're conflating protest and terrorism, right? So there's a way in which this is about free speech, which should be constitutionally protected, which goes to the core of American identity, right? But it's also like way bigger than fucking free speech, you know, way bigger. Because if you can't protest, then you can't contest power. If you can't contest power, then you just live under fucking fascism or totalitarianism. You know, you certainly are not in a democracy. So we have to, like, the Khalil moment, and the people freak out because on some level they finally understand that this shit can happen to you even if you're not breaking laws. And so if we want to stop more of us from being treated like Khalil, I mean, he needs to get freed, first of all, but like, to stop more of that from happening, we have to actually repudiate the global war on terror and its underlying logic. Because in fact, America did disappear a ton of Muslims in America who were immigrants, green card holders, because of the war on terror shit. They have precedent for doing this, you know, and that can't be, that can't stand. So we have to repudiate the global war on terror and reject that logic because it doesn't provide security for fucking anybody.